A deep change is happening in our world. Either the world itself has been transformed, or the very rules of how countries deal with each other have been completely rewritten. Perhaps the biggest shift has come from the United States, which has turned the entire global map 180 degrees. सब कुछ बदल गया है. This means that countries are having to rethink where they stand, and this change is being felt most strongly right here in Asia, especially in South Asia. Where is India? It's amazing to look back at just the last 2 months and see how dramatically the relationship between India and the US has roller coastered. What was being said then is the complete opposite of what is being said today. And in the middle of this, a surprising new story is unfolding. India is slowly getting closer to China. Doors for business and trade, which were shut after the 2020 border clashes, are beginning to open. This is a huge step, especially when you remember that since the 1962 war, India's leaders have never truly trusted China. To see such massive changes on the world stage happening in just a couple of months is something we have rarely seen before. And let's not forget how we got here. Not long ago, US President Trump called the Indian economy dead. The US publicly tried to frame the Ukraine war as Modi's war, putting India's Prime Minister on the same side as Russia's Putin. When India bought oil from Russia, they said it was like throwing fuel on the fire of war. Sochiye, right? A story was built where President Trump from the White House began to ask why anyone even brings up India, suggesting it wasn't important on the world stage. It even reached a point where he threatened to slap a 100% tariff on all Indian goods. So what caused this sudden U-turn? What really happened? Did Prime Minister Narendra Modi play his Xi Jinping card as a master move? Or are we seeing a new power group forming in South Asia with China, Russia and Iran that has sent such a strong message that leaders in Europe are now saying, we have lost Asia? Is that the whole story, or is there something more going on? Let's break this down with 3 key questions. First, President Trump knows his legacy will be judged on whether he can keep America at the top of the new world order. The question is, can he build the new world he wants? Second, in today's world, trade is the new war. Is this trade war actually bringing the jobs and relief that the American people were promised? And third, America seems ready to tear down its own old policies. Yesterday, ISIS was the enemy. But recently, President Trump was seen shaking hands with Syria's leader, forgiving all sanctions and even inviting him to the United Nations. Into this confusing mix, the recent conflict between Israel and Iran sent its own powerful message. It showed America that in the Middle East, Iran could push back against Israel in a big way. This created a huge challenge for the US and its allies. कहानी में एक नया मोड़ आ गया. Perhaps this is why we saw Israel's recent attack in Doha, Qatar. It happened right when Hamas leaders were meeting to discuss a ceasefire plan that the US itself had proposed. An explosion killed 6 people, though the main leader escaped. Qatar called it a cowardly attack. At the same time, China's leader Xi Jinping made a powerful statement. He wants to make the BRICS group, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, much stronger to challenge the world order that America has always controlled. This message alone has put the US in a very uncomfortable position. So, in the middle of all this talk and tension, there are 2 main questions for India. First, where does India actually stand? Did Prime Minister Modi's move to get closer to China and Russia really change the game? Or is this just how America has always played, where friends and enemies can change based on America's interests? And what are we to make of President Trump's recent friendly tweets where he called both nations great, said trade barriers would be removed soon, and that he would talk to Prime Minister Modi in the coming weeks? It's hard to know how to react. The man is so unpredictable. One moment fire, the next moment ice. But you have to take him seriously because he is the President of the United States and everyone knows the power America holds. This situation has raised big questions for India. Just a few days ago, there was a virtual meeting of BRICS leaders. The leaders of China, Russia and Brazil were all there. But Prime Minister Modi did not join. India's foreign minister went instead. ये एक बड़ा संकेत था. It was a subtle but powerful message. Then look at how Prime Minister Modi replied to Trump's tweet. He didn't just give a simple reply, he took the friendly language even further. He called India and America close friends and natural partners. He said he was eager to talk to Trump even without a formal invitation. What this shows is that both leaders are playing a very smart parallel game. But at the heart of it, this isn't about friendship, it's about needs. ये दोस्ती नहीं, ज़रूरत है. America needs India in South Asia to balance out China's growing power. India, on the other hand, needs economic stability and cannot afford to completely cut ties with China, which supplies so many of its goods. Both countries are simply acting in their own national interest. And in all this, there's a topic no one talks about much: the strong friendship between Pakistan and China. The issue of Pakistan rarely comes up in big international meetings. But something interesting just happened. In a joint paper on terrorism released by the European Union and India, the name Pahalgam was mentioned for the first time. This is a direct reference to a past attack that led to a major military operation, where China had stood by Pakistan. To have this mentioned now is a small but significant diplomatic win for India. So what's the final analysis? Is this a brilliant diplomatic victory for Prime Minister Modi, where his China card worked perfectly? Or is America making a U-turn because it's afraid of losing its influence in Asia? The truth is, Prime Minister Modi is choosing a path of balance, not confrontation. It reminds you of India's old non-aligned movement, where we stood with neither America nor Russia. Today, India is trying not to be an enemy to China or America. It's a new definition for a new era. But as we consider this, we must ask the most important question. Given how quickly President Trump changed his tone on India, who's to say he won't change it back again tomorrow? This could all just be a game of words. Shabdo ka khel. The dangers are still very real. America's pressure can return. China is still suspicious. The situation in the Middle East is a warning of what's to come. These are all messages, not just for the world, but especially for India. And the most important thing is to understand them. Samajhna sirf isi ko hai. If you like this video, consider like and subscribe to me. Thank you very much.